Hi, I'm Alina, and I'm working with Chance, Avery, and DeAndre to answer the question, what were the new developments in art and architecture after World War One? So after World War One, a lot of people thought that their societies would fall because of all the fighting they did in the war. So a lot of artists started contributing to new cultural transformations and changes. An example of this is the shift from realistic paintings to unrealistic paintings. And before the war, there was a sort of standard to how painting should look like. People wanted paintings that were as realistic as possible. But this changed when photography was created. Since photography could capture the realistic images in life, people thought that painters should paint the uncapturable. And this led to a new art style in which people used bright colors and unusual shapes to create new avant garde and out of the box images. And this was very different from the hyper realistic images before the war. And these painters often called themselves Lafos or Expressionists or avant-gardists. There were a lot of names for them. And these people were also inspired by Sigmund Freud's theories into painting what they thought the human psyche and human subconscious looked like.
Hi, I'm Chance, and I'm going to be talking about how art was influenced differently. For example, the Japanese inspired French artists such as Edgar Degas. For example, the ballerina photo, you can see it's at an up angle, which at the time was not seen a lot, and it was considered very unique. And another example is Central America influenced people like Paul Gauguin because of its boldness, and it represented Indonesian culture. And as you can see, the bright colors and the fruits and vegetables. And lastly, Pablo Picasso was influenced by African art that you can see in the very vibrant colors and cube shapes that he has. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Avery, and this is the formation of the Bauhaus movement. So, like other topics discussed in this chapter, the Bauhaus movement started under the wake or context of the Great War. This war was the first to utilize mass industrialization, which helped to develop military technology such as cell projectiles, TNT, or tanks. Walter Gropius served in this war and saw the destructive use of these machines. After the war, he started the Bauhaus School on April 12, 1919, originally in Weimar, but later in Dessau, Germany. The Bauhaus was an institution of architects, painters, and designers. Here, Gropius's experience in the Great War caused him to implement the notion that function dictated design or form in architecture. This represented a change in architectural design, as this doctrine basically expressed industrial ideas, specifically that of function and mass production. Here in the video, here in the photos I've included, the top one is that of the Bauhaus School, which displays minimalist design and the use of glass, which were two things that Gropius was known to use. And on the bottom here is Gropius himself.
Hello, my name is John Navarro, and I'll be talking about artists and buildings of the Bauhaus movement. So, adding on to what Avery said, the second director, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, his architecture is pretty much what inspired many of today's buildings and cities. So, as you can see here, his buildings consist of simple shapes with a lot of windows and panels surrounding them. So, on the left, you can see this building, the Seagrass building in New York City, which was designed by van der Rohe. It is a rectangular shaped building covered by a lot of windows, and on the right, it is a proposal for a skyscraper in Berlin that never actually got built, but it is a triangular shaped building with a lot of glass panels. So how his architecture started to spread throughout the world started with Le Corbusier, who was a French-Swiss architect who was requested to build government buildings in Punjab, Chandigarh for the first Indian Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. And people didn't really like the design of the glass box buildings that uh, Van der Rohe created, but because they weren't so very aesthetically pleasing. However, building businesses and governments liked the buildings because they were very simplistic and functional. Okay, now here are our additional sources, and thank you guys for listening.